Hey everyone, Creepy here. So today we're going to be talking about a horrible video by SunnyV2 called Why Chris Will Soon Be a Nightmare for Mr. Beast. Also, just so you know, for this situation, Mr. Beast and his crew are 100% in the right. Literally, he's just supporting his friend while they transition. That is it. Mr. Beast has also already responded to this, saying, yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare, he's my friend. And things are fine. All the transphobia is starting to piss me off. This is a perfect response from Mr. Beast, actually. Like, I can't give him any criticism for the situation. Like, he's doing everything correctly.
The Chris Tyson situation could become a complete disaster for Mr. Beast's brand. However, it may also provide some unique benefits. So let's begin by going over the drama before explaining exactly how this will impact the Mr. Beast channel. In mid-2022, fans began to notice that Chris Tyson was changing. In the early days, he represented the quintessential southern gun and truck loving dude, yet beginning in March 2022, Chris began to display increasingly feminine traits, making tweets such as, "I finally got my nails done at a nail tech."
This whole video is just implying that this kind of stuff is bad. It's okay for people to get their nails done. There's nothing wrong with people getting their nails painted. This whole video just plays on SunnyV2, hoping that his fans are transphobic so that they will agree with him in this situation. They never state why any of this is wrong. They just say, oh, they're becoming trans, how horrible. Also, he cites all the transphobia as being criticism, not bigotry. Transphobia is not criticism, it is bigotry.
Additionally, Chris would highlight that his facial appearance had changed significantly since the start of the pandemic, which accompanied another post reading, "Okay, so in 4 different customs I had to prove I was myself because I, quote, look nothing like my passport pic, so much that I'm considering updating my passport. Do you see any resemblance?" Prompting replies such as, "You went from man to boy." Chris responded by stating, "Nah, to be honest, I just really started taking my mental health seriously and eating better," yet his Twitter photos kept insinuating that Chris was becoming more feminine.
Well, people transitioning can improve their mental health, so therefore he's being completely honest. Also, just so you know, Chris uses any all pronouns. Just getting that out of the way, because some people are a little confused, but they use any all pronouns.
With this same kind of look showing up in his Mr. Beast appearances. For example, on the 6th of January 2023, Beast Reacts uploaded a video titled "I Strapped a GoPro to a Fish," in which Chris dressed in a way that prompted comments such as, "Chris has been adopting more and more traits that remind me of my grandmother." Okay, so some people just gonna ignore Chris's nails? Chris had to have lost a bet. The look is getting wild.
People making transphobic comments doesn't make them correct. Just because a bunch of people are being bigoted doesn't automatically mean that they're in the right in a situation.
The response to the video then prompted countless viral TikToks, such as this one with 700,000 likes, stating, "How did Chris go from this to this?" While others even made the claim that Carl had turned him gay. Now, this was pretty ridiculous, as Carl isn't even that feminine, and Chris had come out as bisexual years before he and Carl had even met. The true catalyst for Chris Tyson's feminization instead seemed to have come from his marriage. In January 2022, Chris would post a photo with his wife to his Instagram, yet after this, the family photo stopped altogether. Fans also noticed that he'd removed his wedding ring, with the ring's absence correlating perfectly with the very first post in which he'd painted his nails. Chris confirmed the split in a post from March 2023 reading, "For a little over a year now, me and Katie have been separated," with this also confirming that Chris's transformation began as soon as his marriage came to an end.
Can we talk about how weird it is to assume that someone became trans because they got a divorce? That is so weird. It's someone's personal life. You don't talk about it like this. Also, SunnyV2 doesn't care about Chris at all. All he cares about is money and what Mr. Beast is going to make out of this. Who cares? It's someone trying to live their own life. It's just someone trying to be happy, and you don't get to decide, oh, they became trans because their wife left them. You don't decide that. You can't just say that. You don't know.
Chris went from lighting campfires and raising a family with his beautiful wife to now trying to be a wife with his man buns and long nails.
Once again, SunnyV2 is positioning transphobia as actual criticism.
As the criticism continued to pile, Chris announced that he'd be taking a break from social media. And while there was a possibility that Chris would make efforts to return to his former self,
they don't have to do this. They don't have to do anything for you people. He can live his life how he wants to.
He'd rather do the opposite and double down on his feminine image, showing up to the Kids' Choice Awards looking like this, before making the announcement that he'd been doing HRT for approximately 2 months, which according to a quick Google search is the medical process for changing genders. Chris would expand on this by stating, "Informed consent HRT saved my and many others' lives. The hurdles GNC people have to jump through to get life-saving gender-affirming healthcare in a first world country is wild to me. Just let people make informed decisions about their own bodies," which received a positive response from both Carl and Mr. Beast, who wrote, "Got you, I did one more heart than Carl because I'm a better friend." While his co-workers expressed positivity, others weren't so welcoming. There goes a father figure the kid won't ever be able to look up to. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Weak man times.
Fun fact, that whole strong men meme is actually a far-right meme. You are supporting the far-right, SunnyV2. So great job supporting the far-right and attacking a minority group. Great job, Sunny. I hope you're proud of yourself.
Chris responded to this comment by stating, "This is just more dog whistling that somehow trans and GNC folks aren't safe around kids. Tucker begs for me me to come back when I leave for like 2 days to film. He is so loved and happy. Kids aren't born with hate, it's taught by people like you, and my child will only know love. I know I'm going to be a great parent, and so is every other person who puts the love of their child before everything. I made this decision because I wanted to show up as my best and happiest self for him. In a way, this was for Tucker.
Yeah, that's the perfect response that Chris could have given. I agree with Chris on this. If you want to raise a child, you probably should be happy so that you could raise the child well. And of course, what Chris was responding to is just transphobic nonsense that, of course, SunnyV2 is supporting in this video.
Chris's response received some positivity, such as, "I'm convinced you're an amazing father. Tucker is lucky to have you and also lucky to have all of those who surround and support you in his life, as well as I adore that, I'm glad you made that decision. It's so much easier to be a parental figure when you're not struggling with dysphoria, yet he'd also receive an equal amount of backlash. You ripped apart your family and took a father figure away from your son just so you could paint your nails and act zesty. Pathetic. He will get torn apart at school, won't want to have friends around his house, a life full of difference and being alone. Must have missed the point in that tweet. How's this for him when you're depriving him of a father figure?"
Not only is this bigoted towards trans people, it's also bigoted towards gay people, specifically lesbians, implying that lesbian couples cannot raise children because there's not a quote-unquote father figure.
Although Chris wasn't altered by these comments, as he'd once again reiterate his certainty in a new post reading, "It's never too late to start being yourself," which received praise from MrBeast as well as Nolan and Carl. However, these comments also added extra fuel to the fire. In a few years, look back at this thread and remember they were never your friends. Only yes men cowards. Hope you come out of this safe.
How horrible. People supporting their friend while they transition. There's just such horrible friends that they support their friends no matter what they do, and they don't hate them because they're not bigoted.
MrBeast responded to this with a simple opinion irrelevant ratio, to which the original commenter would state, "I have 30 followers, so go ahead and ratio me. I'll still rest easy knowing that I'm not a coward who idly sits by watching my friend ruin his own life."
Ah yes, implying that transitioning just ruins your life. What an amazing concept. Of course, it isn't true. People are much more happy when they transition for the most part.
In some ways, it was nice to see the boys standing up for Chris on Twitter. However, the situation has already begun to change the dynamic within the videos. For example, in a recent livestream titled Opening 1,000 Mystery Art Boxes, Chris would once again dress in quite a feminine way, and while everybody participated as usual, the energy and vibe didn't feel nearly as smooth as it normally does.
And you want to know why that is? It's because people are being bigoted towards Chris. It's not Chris's fault if people are bigots towards him. That is not their fault. That is the biggest fault for being small-minded.
It felt as though there was an unaddressed elephant in the room, and therefore everybody was in their head, as opposed to being in the present moment enjoying each other's company. Maybe everybody was simply too busy opening packages, but Chris did make these bizarre jokes about Jimmy being female, making him incredibly uncomfortable.
"Oh my god, Jimmy, look, they drew you. Jimmy, they drew you so well. It looks just like you."
Oh, yes.
Oh my god, it's Jimmy.
How did fan art? This is what we were looking for. Be brave, be honest, be kind. Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Becoming even weirder when each member started to pay each other compliments.
Hey, nice shirt. Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
I'm actually confused at what this is trying to say. They're just complimenting each other here. What is the problem here?
For the most part, the livestream was devoid of awkward moments. However, it would act as fodder for another 100 million views worth of drama and criticism.
Once again, transphobia is not a form of criticism, it is a form of bigotry. When you are bigoted towards someone, you are not criticizing them, you are just being a bigot.
Chris likely believes that people will slowly adapt to his new appearance over time, but is this really going to happen? Well, maybe. It's difficult to say as the situation is fairly unique, especially when considering Chris's reputation and influence. However, if Chris continues to transition, would it be unreasonable to say that he could jeopardize some of the personality traits which made him a successful member in the first place? Perhaps the opposite will happen, and he'll instead pick up new personality traits that better resonate with the current MrBeast audience. This was put forward in many comments supportive of Chris, who implied that there'll be millions of queer kids who look up to him, although this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll add any value to the videos.
No one said it would add value in that sense. Now, it can add value in the fact that people could look up to Chris. That is it. It's not going to improve the video quality at all. It's just going to mean that people could look up to Chris in a different way now. SunnyV2 literally only cares about money, so of course he's only going to talk about money, because that's all that matters to him.
MrBeast has likely cultivated a massive LGBT audience, all of whom are already watching anyway, and if we've learned anything from Hollywood in recent years, it's that adding over-the-top LGBT characters for the sake of relatability rarely works as intended, and is often nothing more than a distraction from the premise of the movie or video.
This isn't an over-the-top character, it is a person, it's an actual human being. How awful do you have to be to compare an actual human being just being there to a quote-unquote forced-in diversity? Also, those movies don't do bad because there's gay people. Usually it's because they market the movies horribly. Because they don't like gay people, actually. They're just using it as PR points. While in this case, it is just a trans person existing. They exist in real life, so they already have a job, so they're going to keep their job.
On top of this, it can be uncomfortable and unrelatable for the silent majority.
If people complain about this, guess what? Cis people shall have literally every other person on the Mr. Beast channel. One of them is trans.
Although, as we have seen, a situation like Chris's does have the potential to create an otherworldly amount of discussion, which could be seen as a benefit for the Mr. Beast brand.
Drama is good for growth, 100%. That would be an easy way to up my
So you're
if I
a
got
Team
it,
Star?
though.
The problem is, this type of situation is probably the last thing that Mr. Beast wants to attract, as he's forced to agree with Chris's position, as he has no way of manipulating the situation without being painted as the bad guy. It's a lose-lose situation for Mr. Beast. I think Jimmy is in an inescapable situation. If he kicks out Chris, cancelled. If he don't, his channel will die for real.
If Jimmy was to fire Chris for being trans, yes, he would deserve to be called out because that is just straight up bigotry. And if people stop watching Mr. Beast because there's a trans person in it, they weren't real fans in the first place. They are morons if they think that having a minority in a channel will make it worse and they are bad people. If you stop supporting a channel because there's a black person in it, you would be called a bigot. That's because you are, and it's the same in this case. SunnyV2 really has to look back on this video and just think for a minute, because he clearly didn't think throughout this video. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. Creeper out.
Socialism is when the government does stuff. And it's more socialism the more stuff it does. And if it does a real lot of stuff, it's communism.